Hello and welcome back to Creating a Legacy. I hope you're well and looking forward to episode 15 of the series. This video is going to be a little bit different. Those of you that have watched every single video of the series will know the format. The first video is the first half of the season. The second video is the second half of the season. But I'm not going to be showing you the first half of the season in this video. We're going to take a look at the summer transfer window, which has been very busy. And then I'm going to focus on a few other things that people have asked in recent videos. And then the next video will be the first half of the season, and we'll follow on from there as normal. So here we are then at the start of the 2026-27 season. It was a very busy summer of lots of players leaving the club and lots of players joining West Ham. And the main catalyst for that was the fact that we have a new owner. David Sullivan has sold the club. Now, David Gold actually retired a few seasons ago, so David Sullivan had full control over the last few years with Karen Brady as his managing director, but she's gone as well. Our new owner is Jonathan Redshaw, and he's got a managing director called Ashley Davis. Now, he gave me more money. I was hoping that would happen. Now, I'm not going to moan about David Sullivan too much. Obviously, in real life, I'm not really happy with the ownership of West Ham, but on the game, he's been all right for us. He's given me more money every single season, a bigger wage budget every single season, but I don't think he's given me as much as we have really deserved, because obviously the finances have been very good. As you can see, with £246 million in the bank, but we've suddenly dropped off after the summer transfer window. But every year he was giving me more money, bigger wages, but I think he was holding us back a little bit. Last year we signed Kenneth for up to £185 million, of course, but I had to sell a few players to be able to get that transfer budget. He gave me about £95 million, I think. Now, by contrast, the new owner came in and gave me £170 million to spend without me selling players as well. So after selling a few players, it went up to about £300 million to spend this summer. So there's been some big changes at the club in regards to player personnel. So I'm going to talk you through those transfers. Someone did ask a couple of videos ago to take a look at sort of my youth prospects, all the first team players in detail, and also take a look at ex-players. So I'm going to do that at the end of the video. I'm also going to take a closer look at my tactics, because a few people have asked me that, and I might do a separate video on my tactic as well at some point as well, just for people that perhaps don't watch this series but are maybe interested in the tactical side of the game. So that's kind of the plan for this video. Let's start by having a look at the transfers, shall we? Here we go then. I've sorted it from highest to lowest transfer on both the in and the out. There's some notable players leaving the club, as you can see if you just scroll down that list. But I'm going to focus first on the main man that has come in for £144 million. I've got him. I wanted him last season. I couldn't get him. Atletico Madrid did accept my offers, but he didn't want to join. So I went after Kenneth instead. So I've got my two main targets from the last 2 years. Kenneth and Gustavo Patera have joined the club. They are both obviously world-class players in their positions. Gustavo Patera is an elite striker. I did actually say, he's the next Messi, mainly because he's Argentinian and he's really good. But he's so tall. He's fast. He's got that sort of dribbling ability of Messi and that sort of thing. But he's really tall. He's 192 centimetres. He's an absolute monster. He's got 8 goals in 14 games for Argentina. I'm so pleased I finally got him. It's frustrating that my scouts didn't find him earlier on, and Atletico Madrid got an absolute bargain for £10 million and huge profit. But I had the money to spend, especially after selling some of my star players. It made sense. It's the start of a new era for West Ham. We've obviously been absolutely dominant, but I want to bring through some of these young players and focus on the regens, I suppose, mainly. I love the fact that he's either-footed. He really is a special talent and should rip up the Premier League. I hope so anyway. Last year he was actually the top goal scorer in Europe, in the top leagues. He won the Golden Boot. He got 39 goals in all competitions, which is actually less than Belotti. But I have every faith that he could go on and beat Belotti's amazing record that he set last year. I mean, the contract is monstrous. It is costing us so much money. But there's no extra add-on fees for Atletico Madrid. I've paid the £144 million. It's all one lump sum. It's out the way, and now it's just a contract to concentrate on. Obviously, it is the biggest contract at the club by a long time. We have now broken our wage structure by signing him, and also the other £100 million player that I brought in the summer. But it's got to the point where I have to. With the biggest team in the world, reputation-wise, we need to be spending more on wages. We're actually only the 4th highest wage spender in the Premier League, to put things into context. Anyway, players leaving the club. We'll talk about this first, and then I'll show you my other signings. So there's some big players that have left. Dani Olmo, Skankov has gone to Man United. Diangana came through our academy. He's finally gone. He's gone to Birmingham City. Wagnerman has left. He's gone to Inter. Odero, our second choice goalkeeper last year, first choice for many years, he's gone to Brighton. And Pallucci, I've sold him. I know some people probably think this is a stupid thing to do, considering he scored so many goals for us the few years he was here. So obviously in that first year, 35 goals in all competitions. Dropped off a bit in the second season, 28 goals in all competitions. But since then, 39, 43, and last year 44. Absolutely insane from him. And his average ratings have been remarkable. He seemed to mature with age. I mean, it could be the fact that he's playing with incredible players behind him, and every year we've improved the squad. The tactic has got better. We've become more accomplished with this tactic. But we saw the early signs of him declining. We saw the downward arrows on his physicals, and I thought, if we're going to sell him, we have to... I should have sold him last year if I really wanted to get a good fee. I'd have got 50 million. I think Barcelona were willing to pay that, but not this year. He had 1 year left on his contract. He was on £200,000 a week. We are having to pay 63 grand a week, I think, for this year until the end of end of this season. Sorry. So we are contributing to his wages at Fiorentina. I mean, arguably, I should have kept him as my backup for Patera. We know he can score goals. If Patera didn't work out, we could bring Belotti in and he would score. But sometimes it just feels right. His time had come. I wanted him to leave on a high, I think. He's going to be 33 this season. It's a big risk, especially as I didn't get a huge amount of money for him. He had 1 year left in his contract. He's 32. He's gone back to Italy. I mean, I was unlikely to get a huge amount of money for that reason, because of his age and his contract situation. So I didn't think he wanted to be second fiddle either behind Patera. I don't want an unhappy player. So yeah, Patera is the main man, and I want to have the youngsters. I want to focus on the youngsters. We've got Patera and Cassini as the two backup strikers. So yes, I'm sure some of you wouldn't do this. It wouldn't be your choice to sell him, but I just decided to do it. I just did. Likewise with Dani Olmo, £71 million for him. He had 1 year left on his contract, and he was I did speak to him about a new contract. He wanted a lot of money, and I just wasn't sure. He's 28. He's in his prime. This was the time to sell him if I wanted to sell him. And PSG got him for £71 million. Once again, I want to bring through the youth. I have signed a central midfielder as well to replace him. Skankov, he's gone to Man United. He almost went last year for £75 million, but he rejected their contract. Bit frustrating that he didn't leave, because now I've only managed to get £58 million for him. Likewise, he only had 1 year. I think he had 1 year left in his contract, possibly two. Can't quite remember. Another player that was on 200k a week. So yeah, he's taken a bit of a wage cut to go to Manchester United. He was playing second fiddle to Cameron Kemp. Want to focus on Cameron Kemp this year. I'm playing a winger in that tactic role rather than an inside forward. Yes, it definitely worked with Diangana and Skankov playing as inside forwards in that role, but I want to focus, as I've said, I want to focus on the players that I've brought through, some of the younger players through our academy, and also younger players that I've signed. I have sold Diangana, so I've sold players in their prime, sort of 28 years old, apart from Belotti. Now, Belotti, remember, I did say that I'd sell players when they reached 30, so he did survive 2 extra years with us, to be fair. I sold Anderson and Lanzini when they reached 30, but I've sold Diangana, Skankov and Olmo before that age, just to try and get as much money as possible. Likewise with Diangana, I almost sold him for £50 million, but he rejected a contract. But I've still got a decent fee for him, and I think there's a sell-on fee as well, if he does go. Not even profit, I think it's just a sell-on fee percentage. I can't remember what I negotiated. But yeah, another player that, yes, he had a great time with us, but in recent years he was less important, as we became a better club and we signed better players. So I think I've got a very decent fee for him considering the circumstances. Wagnerman has gone. He was our second choice left back, but he would have been our third choice if I hadn't sold him. So it made sense to try and sell him for as much as possible. 31.5 million. I think I almost sold him for 50 million a couple years ago back here when he played really well for us, when Pellegrini was out injured for a while. So, but it's still a decent amount of money. So you can see I've brought in so much cash to spend this summer. Adero, second choice goalkeeper, made sense. Sold him for a profit, £20 million profit, not bad at all. And Delevic, one of our youngsters that we signed a couple of years ago from Dortmund, went on loan 3 times, did all right, but I just didn't think he was ever going to be a first choice midfielder. He's got some very good attributes, but as you can see here from the scout summary, they basically would say don't sign him. My scouts are good. So to get £23 million from him, plus I think a sell-on percentage fee, that is pretty good business and a really good profit. We've also sold Christensen, who last year was our third choice goalkeeper, was our second choice goalkeeper for a few years. Sold him for £13 million profit to Rangers. Not bad at all. We sold one of our Chilean midfielders. Now, I was tempted to keep him because he was described as a wonder kid, but he's reached 20 and he's not improved massively, been on loan a couple times. So to get £9.25 million from him and a profit, I don't think is too bad at all. Plus, I just can't get work permits for a lot of these players. He would have eventually got one because he's been capped by Chile. Jared Rodriguez, one of our Colombians, he's gone. Couple million profit for him as well. A Polish winger. Sold him for a little bit of profit. Not much, but it's still a bit of profit. Edison Pereira. Sold him. So, yeah, 100 grand profit, and I think I didn't get all of that. Who else? Seb Norman. He's gone to Charlton for 375k. One of the players that came through our academy. Never going to be good enough for the first team. Likewise with Steve Boyle. They reached 20, and if they're not good enough by that point or showing promise, then it makes sense to sell them on. Same with this American. Signed him on a free. A little bit of profit. Michael Winter, goalkeeper through our academy, never going to be good enough for the first team in a million years. So sold him for a bit. Lots of players going out on loan as usual, which we'll talk about in a bit when we take a look at the youth prospects. But let's take a look at the players coming into the team then. So we've looked at Patera, absolute superstar. The next one is Kieran Harold Allen, an English left back. He's an international. He's got 13 caps. And he was playing for Bayern Munich. Actually came through our academy. He's a fine player. Really good left back. He's better than Pellegrini. He's going to be our first choice this season. He's only 20 years old. And like I said, he's an England international. Now, look at this. He's actually a top player. Strangely, he's suddenly zoomed up to the top. Declan Rice is on that list as well. We had a few players featuring at this World Cup. I signed Harold Allen at the end of the World Cup. The world champions, the new world champions, are Croatia. They won on penalties against Portugal, as you can see here. England finished fourth. They finished fourth. They lost 3-0 in the third place playoff. So they were world champions last time out. Declan Rice obviously helped them to glory 4 years ago. Wasn't able to do it this time around. But they had a good World Cup. And we had 4 players, current players, at the time, feature for us. So Declan Rice, I think, appeared in every single game. But we also had Lewis Shepherd come off the bench a few times and feature in a few games. He played well at the World Cup. And also Max Aarons, of course, he featured a few times. And Cameron Kemp. Now, Cameron Kemp didn't really play up. This might have been his second game for England. He scored a hat-trick in the World Cup quarter-final against South Korea. An absolute thrashing. What a performance from him. Man of the match and a hat-trick to get England through. Sorry, it was the third round of the World Cup. Then it was the quarter-final stage, won on penalties by England against Scotland, who of course won the most recent Euros, remember. But he didn't play. I mean, after that hat-trick, why would you not start him? It's bloody ridiculous. Featured against Portugal and then against Spain as well, I think. So those three, I mean, I love Cameron Kemp. We'll have a look at him in a bit more detail later on in the video. I've just digressed a bit there talking about Harold Allen. But £100 million, £60 million up front, £40 million over the next 3 years. I'm excited about this signing. He's a quality player. He's the second biggest earner at the club, though. It's a bit of a risk to pay him so much money. But he's described as a wonder kid. He's a perfectionist. He's a great personality, really good physically, mentally, very strong. Technically, there's some decent things there as well. He's going to be a world-class left back for years. The next biggest signing only recently came in, actually. My last signing, and I pretty much signed him for Patera. One of the promises that he wanted me to keep when I signed him was to improve the midfield. So I had to go out and sign a really good central midfielder. And now he's happy as a result. I managed to keep the promise just before the end of the transfer window. Savitsky, a Belarusian international, also come over from Germany, from Leipzig, for £95 million. That was his release clause, and I paid it. Now, I don't even know if he's going to be first choice, because, of course, Declan Rice is first choice as our deep line playmaker on defensive duty. Savitsky would rather play as the support, and he doesn't really fit into the advanced playmaker role. Lewis Shepherd is a better option there, our other English maestro, wonder kid. So we've got a world-class midfielder who might not even start, but that's the mark of a good team, I think, having a player who's world-class but not necessarily guaranteed to start. Just shows how good the rest of our squad is. He's actually the third highest earner at the club as well, on 215k a week, but he is a quality midfielder. Unusual to come from Belarus as well. He's already got 37 caps at the age of 22. Next one is a wonder kid, Harry Dunleavy from Southampton, and I love the look of him. He's actually going to be my backup winger this season behind Cameron Kemp, because he fits into that position perfectly. Could also play up front, tempted to turn him into a striker, but I think as a winger, dribbling, crossing, he's fast, exceptional talent, and I'm surprised he's not been kept at under 21 level by England at the very least. I don't think it's going to be too long before he's in the first team. But he's only 18. He's hardly played. And look at him. He's unbelievably good for his age, considering he's hardly played any football. Last year he was on loan at Fulham. Scored 3 goals. Okay average rating. Nothing particularly special. But yeah, he's only been around 2 years. And already looks really, really good. So I'm excited about him growing into the team. Now, a few other youngsters have come in. Pallucci from Napoli for £3.1 million. We've loaned him out to Luton Town. He's a left winger. Didier Torres, another Colombian. We like to sign Colombians. He's come in from Santa Fe for £3 million. Moved on loan to Belgium. We've then got Steven Pojoy, another Colombian central midfielder. But I sign these Colombians and I sell them on for profit nearly every single time. So it's definitely worth doing, I think. Edison Pereira, another Colombian. I've got scouts over in South America. Oh, wait, that's weird. Why is it showing him there when we sold him? Is that... Oh, that's interesting. I just realised I signed him and he only just joined the club this summer because of his age. He turned 18. Earlier in the season, I suppose. I couldn't get a work permit for him, and I think I just didn't really like the look of him. So we sold him immediately. I didn't realise I'd done that. That's quite strange. Anyway, because I sign players and they have to turn 18 from Colombia before they join us, so I forget about them, I think. The next one is our new backup keeper for this year, Jens Ox, he's not amazing. He's basically the same level as Christensen was. But he's young, he's got potential. There's a few other goalkeepers in the under 23s. There's one that's got really good potential, but I can't get a work permit for. So this guy's going to be my second choice goalkeeper this year. So overall, I'm really happy with the squad. Look at the value of some of these players as well. The wages are extreme. I do need to think about some players renewing their... Actually, no, are we in a good position? Oh, no, there's a couple. Dilrosun's got 2 years left. Cardoso, Lesage, who... I was tempted to sell. You might think, why would I sell a wonder kid that scored a Champions League final goal in his debut in the Champions League? Had a good season at Birmingham, had a good year last year as our second choice. But the problem is we've got him and Amato the Tomato, who are both very good young fullbacks. Maybe it makes more sense to sell this guy. I don't know. And then, of course, Max Aaron's ahead of them. So we've got 2 backup right backs who are both young, and maybe I should loan one of them out. Amato went out on loan last year, Lesage the year before. It's difficult. I don't really want to sell either of them because they're both valuable. They're both really good. I suppose Lesage, because he's younger, maybe makes sense to keep him, as he's got that potential, but so does Amato. I'm conflicted over those two basically as to what to do. But overall, I'm very happy with the squad we have. Before I take a look at all the players in detail then, as requested by some of you, we'll just take a look at what's happened in the summer. As you can see, we managed to win the Community Shield 2-1. But before that, we won friendlies against Dynamo. We won 7-0, 6-1, 3-0, 3-1, 7-1. As usual, scoring tons of goals in pre-season and winning every single game. And then, of course, Spurs at Wembley in the Community Shield. We've managed to win it 3 times in a row now. Cameron Kemp opened the scoring. An assist from... Who was it? Shepherd, yeah. And it was a really interesting goal because it was just a stonking header from Kemp. Unusual header, really. And then Patera scored on his debut, on his full debut for the club. He scored, I think, 4 goals in his first 2 friendlies for the club. But then he managed to get a goal in his first official appearance for West Ham. So he's off the mark. That's really good news. You may have noticed I have changed the tactics slightly to suit him because he is an advanced forward. Before we played Pallucci as the pressing forward. It's going to be interesting to see how much of an impact that has on us, changing that role. Perhaps it will enable the shadow striker to be a bit more effective. I don't know. We'll see. I am tempted to go back to 3 in midfield or push Declan Rice back into defensive midfield and go back to the old tactic. But of course that didn't really work after the update. So, I mean, this is the tactic at the moment. I did upload it to the Steam Workshop and offer it up for download in the last video. So make sure you click on that link and download it if you want to. But those are the instructions, basically. I'm tempted, like I said, I'm tempted to do a separate video where I talk about it in detail. But I've not changed things massively since the very start. Of course, we've changed the formation. I've changed the distribution of the goalkeeper a bit. We're now more about distribute quickly. I want to take advantage of Kenneth, taking more risks. He's a sweeper keeper on attack, which suits him, I think, and enables him to get higher ratings. And then the rest of the team, the fullbacks, they don't have any extra instructions apart from Pellegrini playing at left back. He's off tackles, but I'm not sure I need to do that with Harold Allen. He's got very good bravery, aggression and tackling. There's 12. Maybe he still needs it. I don't know. Perhaps I could experiment with that. Pellegrini just picked up too many yellow cards. Declan Rice picks up tons of yellow cards with tackle harder on, but I don't know if I should remove it because we need someone in the middle that is willing to put his foot in. But I think he's probably willing to do that anyway. He's obviously very good at tackling, so I think I might take... I'll have a think about that. That's what I'm doing at the moment anyway, for those interested. For the advanced playmaker, we've got dribble more on. Now, in the old days, it was because Lanzini was really good at dribbling. But nowadays, it's because Lewis Shepherd, who's going to play in that role, he's got 17 on dribbling. He's pacey as well. What a player this guy is. 12 caps for England and 1 goal. He's really highly regarded by the England manager, who has changed. Oh dear, he might not be anymore. Valverde was sacked after finishing 4th at the World Cup. So, we'll see. Oh, Declan Rice is England captain. I didn't even notice that. That's really good. So he's captain of West Ham. He's captain of England. He's got 16 on leadership. He's now 27 years old. He's in his prime. 66 caps and 6 goals for England. That's nice, isn't it? 666. And Lewis Shepherd alongside him. Really good. The central midfield partnership for West Ham and England is matching up nicely. Then on the wings, I've got to shoot more often. I think that's because in the old days, Yarmolenko used to score so many goals, and I've not changed that. Cameron Kemp scores goals. It's probably why that position scores so many goals, because we've got to shoot more often on. The shadow striker, I used to have roam from position, but I've changed it. I'm experimenting with this role to see if we can improve the productivity of it. Then on the left hand side, roam from position, because in the old days again, Anderson, either footed player, he's not just a winger, he could sort of move in and just take control of matches. Dilrosun, although he's very left footed, he can kind of do the same. We need to allow him to have that freedom to roam and create, and it's obviously worked very well because he gets so many assists, he gets lots of goals as well. And then up front, we've not got any extra instructions since changing to the advanced forward. So that's my tactic at the moment, for those wondering. I'll continue to adapt it as and when required, really. Okay then, let's take a look at the players at the club at the moment, and then we'll take a look at some of the ex-players and see how they're getting on. So I won't dwell on every single player. Of course, we've looked at our backup goalkeeper. We've got Kenneth Momo, still improving, by the way. His passing's gone up to 14 since joining the club. A few things are still going up. In fact, I'm intrigued to see if much has gone up since he joined. Nothing's actually gone up by a whole point. Our passing definitely went up from 13 to 14, so I'm not sure why that's not showing there. Then we've got our 2 backup centre-backs. Jackson Perosa is still here. There's been a few times where he's almost left. One time where he rejected a contract from a Chinese club. What's going on here with the ability? All the English abilities are gone. That is weird. I don't know what's going on there. Cardoso, our other backup, he didn't go to the World Cup with Portugal despite having 12 caps for his country now. He's probably because he doesn't start enough games for us, but he's been a great player over the years. Obviously came through the academy, well, joined for £4.3 million, joined the academy for £4.3 million, and I played him straight away, didn't I? Throw him straight in there, played lots of games, and obviously that has diminished in recent years because we've signed better centre-backs. Declan Rice, club captain, what a player. Just want to show you his progress because it has been quite impressive, as you can see here. Lots of things have improved as he's approached his prime. Todibo, world-class centre-back, played for France at the World Cup, actually played in defence midfield. He can play there. He could actually play central midfield for us as that deep-line playmaker if need be. Lisandro Martinez, our Argentinian world-class centre-back as well, also went to the World Cup with Argentina. I love the fact that we've got some brilliant ball-playing defenders. They can all play as a ball-playing defender. Flores is probably the worst at that. He's only got 10 on passing, but he can still do a job there. Max Aarons, our world-class right-back, has kept Trent Alexander-Arnold out of the England starting lineup at times, but it did seem to be that Trent was favoured in that position at the World Cup. Max Aarons came off the bench. I think he started 1 or 2 games, but he really is a quality player, and he's obviously in his prime now as well. Luca Pellegrini, first choice left-back for many years, but he's going to be second fiddle to our new signing this year. What a bargain he has been, and what a servant, and he really has improved as well. His average ratings have got better. Obviously, he had a problem with yellow cards at one point, but not many last year. Since changing his player instructions, that really has helped. Roberto Tomato, our Italian right back. 1 cap for Italy. Had a good year at Fiorentina last year on loan, and he's back and hoping to get some game time. Then we've got Kieran Howard-Allen, our new signing. Don't need to go into details about him. Alexander Losage. Let's have a look at his progress, actually. Yeah, he's definitely improved, hasn't he? I think he's sort of not improved quite so much in recent times. But overall, some serious improvement there. I really like him. Then Andrei Savitsky, our Belarusian signing in the summer. Lewis Shepherd. His progress has been quite remarkable since the start, since he joined the academy. Look at that. The only thing that's gone down is determination. That might be because of my training, mentoring. We've got him under Declan Rice, and his determination is 17. And often I think players in the mentoring group, they kind of match up the determination. He's basically mentoring all the young players. I don't know if that's the right thing to do. I don't know if there's too many people there to have enough influence. I could have Pellegrini as a mentor as well, because he's a model citizen, so that's something to think about. I might do that at some point. The other thing to mention about Shepherd is he's really good at training. He always gets really good training scores. Look at this, 9.05. A lot of the youngsters do. Moving on then to Turco, not sure how it's pronounced, our Argentinian left wing, who's also described as a wonder kid. Likewise, another player that has improved quite a bit. Germano, our shadow striker, hoping to push on from last year. He's had 2 good years with us. First year 13 goals, 8 assists. Last year 6 goals and 11 assists. But like I said, not quite as productive from that shadow striker role last year. So we need to try and improve that. Cameron Kemp. Love this guy. Why is it showing his England? That's really weird. Not sure what's going on there. It's showing his England pick thing rather than West Ham. Either way, doesn't matter. We can still see his progress, as you can see. Probably the best progress of any player that has come through our academy. At one point, I really wasn't sure he could. He came through and he had potential, but the first loan spell at Wycombe, I wasn't that impressed. And then at Rochdale, it was all right, but he was young, and I just think since playing him in the first team, he's just gone from strength to strength. He had a particularly good time in the Championship with Birmingham City. He came back, didn't play much football, and wasn't particularly impressive, as you can see there, from his average rating. But when I really put my faith in him, 22 goals, 13 assists, and then last year, 15 goals, 12 assists. Not quite as good, actually, but still, excellent performances from him. And of course, he's got into the England team, scored a hat-trick against South Korea in the World Cup 3rd round. I love him. I really like this guy, and he just seems to keep improving. He's now 23 years old, but he's still improving. Raymondo Cassini, who is a decent player, actually. I like him. Once again, quite a bit of progress there, as you can see from him. Jordy Katara, one of my other players I really like. I mean, his actual current ability isn't amazing compared to some of the players that we have, but there's something about him. He seems to perform really well. Last year he did score goals. He's obviously improved as a player dramatically over the years. He's a dribbler. He's versatile. He can play right wing, attacking midfield, or central midfield. And last year, 13 goals, 5 assists, 7 man of the match performances. Really good average rating. Matteo Morelli, one of our wonder kids who we signed for £12 million from Atalanta. Moved on loan to Norwich for the second half of last season. Was a tricky club to move to because they're in the relegation zone, but he's still got a couple goals and an assist and lots of Premier League experience, which will be good for him. He's going to be my backup shadow striker this year. It says winger there as his preferred role, but I think shadow striker suits him better, so we are training him up in that role. Let's have a look at his progress. Yeah, he's improved quite a bit actually since he joined the club. I really like Dan Suarez as well. I wasn't sure if he would make it, but I think he's going to. He's only just turned 19 earlier in the summer. Had a really good, solid season with Rotherham. Like, he didn't get loads of goals and assists, but they finished 7th, which was way above what they were meant to, and he was a big part of that central midfield for them. If we look at his progress, he's definitely improved since joining Rotherham, I think. And look at that. He's going to be a great player. And he will add bite to our midfield. I had to say it. So I've promoted him to the first team this year for that reason, just because of that improvement. Harry Dunleavy, of course, we've already looked at him. And then we've got another wonder kid, left winger, Uruguayan Hugo Flores, who has managed to get a work permit, which is really good news. He managed to get it whilst he was on loan at Nimes in France. Had a good season with them. Not an amazing average rating, but lots of game time. Played well in the Europa League in particular, I think. 7 goals in the Europa League, 7.83 average rating. So he's going to be one of our backups to Dilrosun. Him and Turcho fighting for that left wing spot, I suppose. Or the backup left wing spot. Patera, don't need to talk about him anymore. And lastly, Luis Patera, still here, still fighting to get into the first team. I thought he'd be better than he was. I thought he'd improve more than he has. If we just look at his progress, there's some decent progress there, but it's compared to some of the other players that have actually come through our academy, not been as dramatic, has it? So that's the first team. Let's move on to the development centre then, our under 23 and under 18 stars coming through the academy. Lots of players out on loan, as you can see here, and I've got some of my scouts keeping an eye on a few of the notable players out on loan. But let's just go back to this and look at the 5 that are the ones to watch at the moment. So Digbu, he's actually from Ivory Coast, but he's changed his nationality to French, so I don't know if he's hoping to get into the French national team. I think that might be a bit wishful thinking, but there's some good attributes there. Obviously, crossing and dribbling really stand out, which is useful as a winger. Be good if he could improve his pace and acceleration a bit more, just to be a really extreme winger. But I like the look of him. Of course, we had Arnie McCarthy come through our academy last year, and he has got some serious potential. He really does, and I want to change him into being a ball-playing defender because he's got the passing ability. He needs to improve few other attributes. Obviously vision needs to be improved, but there's some serious potential there, and he's not even 17 yet. Moved him up to the under 23s though. Andy Denton, another player to watch, who came through our academy last year. He's determined, got really good determination, but he's unambitious. So if we can mentor him in the correct way, he could turn into a good player. And someone else actually, he's really pushed on because he wasn't one of the standout players from the academy last year. But his potential's gone up and everything is improving. So another centre-back with some decent potential there. Not sure he's really a ball-playing centre-back though, so he won't necessarily fit into our system. And Will Palmer, who has gone out on loan a couple times, 3 times, Doncaster, MK Dons and West Brom, and last 2 loans have been pretty good. He will want to try and push on and get into the first team. He's 20 now. He is a good player. His finishing ability is good. I think he's probably a championship quality player. I'm right, as you can see there. But yeah, if we were towards the bottom of the Premier League, he could be a serious talent for us. But we're at the top of the Premier League, so I'm not sure he's ever really going to get an opportunity. Anyway, let's have a look at the under 23s in a bit more detail. So my third choice goalkeeper this year, who has been on loan a few times during this series, a lot in fact, he's finally going to get a chance to be our third choice goalkeeper, is Damien Morale. We signed him at the same time as Christensen, the Dane, who of course we sold in the summer. He's a decent goalkeeper. He's never going to be first or even second choice, I don't think, but he's a good third option. We've also got a Colombian goalkeeper who's got similar ability, but I can't get a work permit for him, so he's gone out on loan. This is the goalkeeper I was talking about, Eric Savin, who has 2 caps for Russia, but I can't get a work permit for him. He's got really good potential, so it is frustrating that we can't sort of push him into the first team, because he would actually be my second choice if I could get a work permit for him. I'm not going to talk about everyone because there's so many players. Richard Robinson, I can't see how much he's developed because he's out on loan, but I've told QPR to play him as a ball-playing defender. I actually told Portsmouth to do the same, but they didn't do that. So I pulled him back in January. But this year, hopefully he will play as a ball-playing defender for QPR, because I want to try and turn him in. He doesn't really have the ability, doesn't have the attributes, but I'm desperate. He's got such great potential. I want to try and get him to fit our system, otherwise I'm going to have to sell him on. We've looked at McCarthy, other players with serious potential. We've got Maxime Gorina, Belgian, who we signed. No, he didn't. He came through our academy. He's gone back to Rotherham. I know this is his first time in Rotherham. It's because he joined at the end of last season. That's why it's showing that. So he's actually going to be playing as a ball-playing defender for them. Now, his preferred position is deep line playmaker, but thinking about it, he's a brilliant ball-playing defender. Although he's short, that's the only issue. Will he grow? He's 17. Maybe he can sort of... If he can get to sort of 6 foot, then it's okay. If not, then maybe we're going to have to try and turn him into a midfielder instead. He's an interesting player because he's well-rounded. We could mould him into anything we want him to be, I think. But he could be a really quality ball-playing defender if he doesn't grow, then we need to try and improve the heading and jumping reach, I suppose. He's an intriguing player, but he's got serious potential to be a talented player. I'm just not really sure where to play him. So if anyone wants to let me know what you would do with him, then stick it in the comment section below. Another midfielder with serious potential who we signed last year from Maritimo, £1 million. He's a Montenegrin under-21 international, ball-winning midfielder. So, yeah, he doesn't really fit our system, does he? But it's a player that we can develop and maybe sell on for profit in the future, I suppose. Che Lane still here. Obviously had a bit of time in the first time. I did try to sell him in the summer because I didn't think he'd ever get in the first team. But no one wanted him. So he is wanted on loan. He's not happy about being transfer listed for £10 million. I was just trying to get a bit more money, I suppose, here and there. Anyone else of note to talk about in the reserves? Our Egyptian attacking midfielder, he's got serious potential as well. He's gone on loan over to Portugal. Simon Leach, I like the look of him. He has actually improved quite a bit. Had a really bad injury in his first season. He had serious potential, got injured, which did affect him. But he has pushed on and he's managed to win his first loan spell out at Bristol City. He's a well-rounded player. He's a striker, but we could probably develop into being a shadow striker or something like that if we want. I think that's everyone with really good potential that I've talked about. And the under-18s, there's not really anyone else. I've promoted all of the high potential players. This guy's got a bit of potential, Danny Tracy. But that's about it, I think, for the current players. But let's have a look at some of the players that have left the club. We'll start with more of the icons. So Marc Noble, club captain for many years. He's retired. He moved to Granada. He became an assistant manager but couldn't find a club. So he has retired now. Felipe Anderson has moved to Sevilla on a free. So I'm actually... Some people said I shouldn't have sold him at the time. I did. But I'm glad I did because we sold him for £52 million. He had a good first season with Arsenal. Nothing spectacular, but decent first year. And then dropped off, as you can see here. And he eventually went on loan last year to Fiorentina. And now he's moved on a free to Sevilla. He's 33 years old. I'm actually really pleased that I managed to get that amount of money for him, considering what happened to him in the end. He just went downhill as I thought he would because of his age. Lanzini, also 33 years old, still playing for Saint Etienne, actually playing for their reserves now. So once again, absolutely brilliant piece of business selling for £30.5 million when he only had one good year after that. His physicals have been destroyed. Look at that. That is awful. Poor Lanzini. But he was a brilliant player for us, of course. Bellotti, we know about him. These are all the players that are in the favoured personnel at the moment. But we can have a look at some of the key players by going to the history. And I like this, actually. I only actually discovered it on maybe it was a new feature on FM19, I don't know. But we can have a look at some of the key players. So Haller, still playing for Leicester, as you can see there. And still scoring goals. He's probably in the best of the bunch that I managed to sell. Fabianski has retired, no surprise there. And Masuaku, we sold, remember, for a surprising amount of money, £25 million. Didn't rip it up at Reading whatsoever, and was sold for £4.1 million. He's now 32 years old. So once again, great bit of business. Issa Diop, remember, we sold him over to China for £33 million. He's still playing there at the age of 29. Yarmolenko is now an assistant manager. Moved back to Ukraine in the end, didn't he? Ryan Fredericks, we sold him for a decent amount of money, for £10 million to Sporting, and he's been a bit of a journeyman, going on loan a few times since then. Pablo Fornals, we sold him for £46.5 million. I must say, I've done, my transfer activity has been one of the highlights of this save. I've really enjoyed it. It's been probably the most fun aspect to it. And I've actually nailed it. I'm not going to be modest there. Sorry, I'm not going to be modest, because I honestly think I've done pretty well in the transfer market. Yes, you might have done things differently. Perhaps you wouldn't have sold Belotti this summer, but I just think with a lot of these, I think I was correct to sell the likes of Anderson and Lanzini and Haller when I did, and Masuaku and Diop and Fredericks and everyone else. I managed to get money for them. I mean, one of the biggest wins was Ajeti, selling him for £23 million to Fulham. He didn't really perform that well for them before moving for £11 million to Lille. He's done quite well over there, to be fair, and he has been a good Swiss international. But I think to get that amount of money from my backup striker at the time was pretty impressive. Probably the biggest mistake, although he didn't really fit into my system, remember, is Palacios. Signed him for £10 million, loaned him out. The first season he was average, wasn't he? Didn't really do much. Second season, loaned him out to Lazio, and then I thought, he just doesn't really fit into the way I play. He would now, I think, into our deep line playmaker role. But yeah, maybe a bit of a mistake selling him to Galatasaray for £17 million. They put a release clause of £20.5 million into his contract. So he moved to Real Madrid not long after. And he's done well there, and he has become a world-class midfielder. So that's probably the one player. If I'd hung on to him for a bit longer, and he hadn't even progressed or hadn't really featured in my team, I'd have probably been able to sell him for a lot more money to the likes of Real Madrid a couple years later. So that's probably the biggest mistake. Wilshere has moved over to South Korea. We sold him for £1.9 million to Sheffield United. Had a few years there before moving. Balbrenner, he's retired. Antonio, he's become head of youth development. Doesn't have a club though. Nathan Holland, remember we sold him for £3.6 million. He just didn't quite develop as I hoped. He's moved to Coventry City. So that's the first season. Some of the stars from the second season, quite similar really looking down this list. Vissalco has retired, by the way. Yeah, no one really else. Nathan Trott moved to Sheffield United in the end. So moved to Watford and then to Sheffield United. So we sold him for a decent fee, I think, considering. Then moving on to the next season. Any other players here? McKennie, we sold in January. So yeah, he's still at Wolves. No surprise there. Was it January or last year? Can't remember. Malqui, 35 years old now. Sold him for a bit of money. Lokonga. Yeah, he was a good servant for us for 4 years. Sold him to Leicester for £22 million, and he's done all right over there. Moving on. Anyone else to talk about? Let's just scroll down and have a look. I don't think there is. We're obviously almost up to present day, I suppose. Oh, Badiashile. That was a good piece of business. Signed for £3.1 million. Sold for £16 million to Birmingham. He's done okay there, to be fair. He's a Premier League centre-back. Not a bad player whatsoever. Elise as well. Sold him for £5 million, over to Turkey. And 2 years ago, it's quite interesting looking at this list. It's just bringing back some of the memories. But we've had a pretty consistent team overall, haven't we? In recent years, but it's until this summer. Now suddenly I've sold a load of players. Holmgren, of course, we managed to sell for a profit. I could have sworn he's changed his ethnicity there. He was white. He was Caucasian. I'm almost certain. since the there was an update, a winter update, and the regen faces have changed. Great profit, and he did. I mean, to be fair, he did really well in Portugal. 25 goals in all competitions. He's a quality striker. But I just, like I said when I sold him, I just didn't really fall in love with him. I didn't have that connection with him that I wanted. And then last year, Germano made the most appearances in the end. That surprises me, actually. So that answers your question about ex-players. So I'll just end today's video by taking a look ahead at this season. So the next video, episode 16, will be the first half of this season. Might be a bit of a shorter video than normal as a result, I suppose. We've got the European Super Cup to look forward to, of course, the Champions League. We are predicted to finish top of the Premier League for the first time. And this is the Media Dream 11. So we've got 3 players in there. Kenneth, Harold Allen and Patera feature there. So that's really good to see. If we just look at some of the key transfers, we made the biggest transfer of the summer. It's not our record transfer, though. Kenneth, of course, is our record signing. Going to rise up to £185 million. I think once he's made 50 appearances, Chelsea will get another £10 million and it will reach that 185. But this player, I've kept an eye on him. He's moved from Barcelona to Man United for a significant fee. And of course, we sold Harold Allen, third biggest transfer. Mason Greenwood has moved from Man United to Chelsea. He's a really good England player. £99 million. Quality striker. And then Savitsky. So we had 3 of the top 5 signings. Then, of course, we sold Olmo and Skankov. So we have featured heavily on this list, as you can see here. And if we take a look at the team report to just see how we compare to the rest of the league, I suppose, we've got a young team. Average age of 23, but that's what I want. Our oldest player is Martinez at the age of 28. Going to turn 29 this season. That is interesting. I've not got a single 30-year-old in the squad. Wow. So I'm kind of pleased I sold Belotti for that reason. We're going to have a really nice young squad this year. We've got a couple 28-year-olds, Martinez and Dilrosun, but the rest of the team is really young. We've got the highest earner in the league now in Patera, but hopefully he repays me. Let's just compare against the rest of the league. We don't have the highest in any... Oh, there we go, Kenneth. But remember, we've also got our young Jens there. If it was just Kenneth, I think we'd probably be top of pretty much everything there. Defensively, the best we've got is second best, third best. I mean, we've got a strong defence. But with ball-playing defenders, they're not always necessarily the best defensively. They're just very good offensively as well, I suppose. Stamina, second best in midfield. We don't have the strongest midfield, actually. But we've got young players that I've put into the first team that is dragging these averages down, remember. Highest stamina in the league. Mentally pretty strong. Aggression, third best. Determination, third best. And technically. But yeah, there's no surprise that we're not top for everything because I have promoted a lot of these youngsters with current ability of 2 stars or 2.5 stars. If we were just looking at the starting lineup, I think we've probably got I don't want to say the strongest because Arsenal have put together a really good team. They've got Klopp in charge, and this guy Felix Huet is actually better than Patera. I did inquire about him first of all, but they just rejected it. It would have cost even more money to get him because I do believe he is better than Patera, and if he was playing in our system, I think it'd score more goals than Patera. Although he's only 1-footed. Patera's 2-footed. I think that really does add something to a player. So we'll see how he compares to Patera this season in terms of goals. They've also got another very good striker in this Belgian chap who looks really good. So they have put together a strong team. I wouldn't be surprised if they're my biggest threat. They've not spent so much money this year, but last year, £490 million. Yes, they sold a lot, but they've really transformed their team since signing Klopp. Liverpool, maybe they will be the biggest threat because they've just been so good over the recent years. They've got Diego Simeone in charge. He actually only joined in the summer. Klopp hasn't transformed Arsenal because he's only just left Liverpool. He resigned to move to Arsenal, which just seems... Maybe he just got bored of Liverpool. That could be a big factor in what happens this season, actually. This summer, they didn't spend as much. Sane. Oh, this guy's good. How did they get him for such a low fee? That's surprising because he's a quality striker. That is... Maybe only had a year left on his contract. I don't know. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Arsenal are my biggest threat, because Klopp has been a little bit of a foe for me. Just my bogey team was Liverpool. Now Klopp's moved to Arsenal. I wouldn't be surprised if it transfers to them. But time will tell. It's been a long video. I've talked a lot. My voice is starting to go, so I think it's probably time to end this video. I hope you enjoyed me looking at in depth at the players, taking a look at the tactics, looking at some of the ex-players. Not a huge amount of interest there with the ex-players. Most of them I've sold, and they've not done as well at their current clubs as at my club, because we've been so good, I suppose. But also I sold them at the right time, from our point of view anyway. But thank you for watching. Until next time, enjoy FM20. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you very soon.